national Organized to Win call. You can help us get things started in the chat. Introduce yourselves. Tell us your name, where you're from, and why you are tuning in. And if you are watching on any of the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, you can like, share, retweet this stream and help us get the word out. And for those of you who are tuning in on social media, if you want to interact more directly with our guest, if you want to talk with Keith Ellison in the chat, you can dial into our Zoom room. Just go to rrev.us/Zoom. Again, rrev.us/Zoom. Brothers and sisters, we've got an all-star lineup tonight. We're going to be talking to Minnesota Attorney General and Our Revolution board member, Keith Ellison, about his groundbreaking work to prosecute the murderer of George Floyd. And we're going to dig into his brand new book, Break the Wheel, Ending the Cycle of Police Violence. We're also going to be hearing from two new progressive candidates who've recently announced bids. Aaron Regenberg is here. He is running to represent Rhode Island's 1st congressional district. And we're also joined by Jovanka Beckles, a progressive from the East Bay who's seeking a seat in the California State Senate. And last but not least, we're going to be joined by our very own Jake Burdett. He's an Our Revolution local leader in Maryland, and he was on Capitol Hill and assaulted by a right-wing Republican congressman last week. You don't want to miss this story. Stay tuned to get the details. Before I bring up Jake and our other guests, I want to just do a quick recap on the week that was. On Tuesday, we scored a big win in Pittsburgh. Our Revolution back, Sarah Inamardo, won her race for Allegheny County Executive. This means that progressives now have a trifecta in Western PA. We've got Mayor Ed Gainey, we've got Representative Summerlee, and now we have Sarah as Allegheny County Executive. The next day, we headed up to Capitol Hill to rally with Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal for the reintroduction of Medicare for All. Just a couple of weeks ahead of that reintroduction, Our Revolution joined with Congressman Ro Khanna to announce our campaign to end medical debt. And also last week on Capitol Hill, Our Revolution Howard County, Maryland chair Jake Burdett was attacked by Clay Higgins, a United States congressman, an ex-cop, at a press conference. You may have seen this go viral online. You're going to hear directly from Jake in just a bit. And then we're going to be tackling criminal justice reform and the meaning of true public safety with Minnesota Attorney General and Our Revolution board member, Keith Ellison. Again, if you are just joining us, welcome. My name is Joseph. I'm with Our Revolution. I want to welcome everyone who's tuning in the chat. I see Frank in Oak Park, Jeff. I see Steve Young, Paulina. I see Beth Angel. I see Star D, Susan Steigerwalt, one of our super activists, Latanya, Mike Gardner, Amanda Wolf. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to all of our Revolution members and volunteers to our National Organized to Win call. Before we get going, and we're going to get going in just a moment, I want to invite you to help fund the revolution and help fund our work to reform the criminal justice system in America. With a donation of $35 or more, we'll send you a signed copy of Keith's new book, Break the Wheel, Ending the Cycle of Police Violence. The link is in the chat. Again, introduce yourself. Welcome to everyone. I want to do a shout out to our national team. You're going to be seeing Amanda talk in the chat. You're going to be seeing Diane in the chat, Aaron, John, Paco, Babek, Madison, Mike Ollis, and others. And together, we are all in our revolution community. So with that, I want to bring up our first guest of the evening. Minnesota Attorney General and our Revolution board member, Keith Ellison, is in the house. As everyone here knows, Keith put Derek Chauvin, the murderer of George Floyd, behind bars in a rare conviction for police brutality. For far too long in our country, and we all know this, bad cops have used their badge as a shield against accountability. Bad cops believe that the misuse of power against the poor and the powerless, they think it wouldn't result in any type of criminal liability or sanction. And you know what, brothers and sisters? Keith Ellison proved them wrong. His successful prosecution is one meaningful step towards breaking the wheel of state-sanctioned violence in the United States. Our revolution community, let's give Keith Ellison a big Our Revolution welcome in the chat. If you have any questions for Brother Ellison, put them in the Q&A. Keith, welcome to our Monday night organizing call once again. And tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired you to take your diary and publish it.
Well, thanks so much for the invitation. I just love, and I'm using the love word, our revolution. You guys are the best of us, and you are the leading edge of the best, highest values of our nation. Being a progressive sometimes means being the first to arrive at the idea that everybody's going to be coming to pretty soon when it comes to lifting up humanity. And so, fellow progressives, it's great to be with you. Look, I wrote the book, Joe, because I felt that this sad, tragic situation with loss of life, people being killed left, right, too often, just need to be documented. When I was charged with the responsibility of holding Derek Chauvin and Tou Thao and J. Alexander King and Thomas Lane accountable, I looked for books that could help give me some indication as to what I should do. And I didn't really find that many. So I figured what I'm going to do is write a book so that when these tragic incidents occur, there'll be some reference material for somebody to look at. We can have some idea as to what we should do. What is the role of the popular movement, the people who are going to go out to the streets and demand justice? What's the role of the press? What's the role of the court system? I mean, how does this all this stuff fit together? And also understanding that when we stand up against police brutality, what we're really standing up for is the idea that the government should not be able to use arbitrary violence against its citizenry, against its people. The government should not be able to use arbitrary violence against you because you're the wrong color, the wrong religion, the wrong politics. I mean, we just saw a moment ago what it looked like a government official using arbitrary violence against a citizen for exercising their First Amendment rights. These kind of things is what the Fourth Amendment is designed to stop. Also, equal protection under the law. Nobody's above the law, nobody's beneath the law. Truth be told, George Floyd is not beneath the law. So down low that you can do anything you want to him and nobody can stop you. and Derek Chauvin is not above the law, so that he could do anything he wants to do and nobody's going to call him to account. These are the simple ideas that we're standing up for. So that's why I wrote the book, a historical document designed to give folks some sense of how to solve these problems. And if I may say so, Joe, this issue of police brutality is solvable. We don't have to live with it. I'm not saying that, some of the better examples are perfect, but I can tell you that, look, under Ras Baraka in Newark, New Jersey, they had a whole year where there were no officer-involved shootings. I'm not saying that Newark is nirvana. It's not. It's on the ground, right? And it has all these problems that we're all trying to solve. But to say that it just can't be solved is wrong. It certainly can be and must be. And so that's why I wrote the book. And I'm really grateful you asked me that question because, I wrote the book that I wish that I had when I sat down to prosecute this case.
And Keith, tell me some of the, top lines that, or some of the sections of the book that you would point some of our readers to or members to really pay attention, lean in. There's
a lot, but one thing I would say is that those people, handful of people who were assembled, but randomly selected by fate, on the corner of 38th Avenue and Chicago Avenue on three Memorial Days ago, coming up on 3 Memorial Days ago. None of them knew George Floyd, and it was a multiracial group. It had several white people, several black people. You had kids, you had older people, you had men, you had women, you had a slice of humanity, a bouquet of humanity right there. None of them knew George Floyd, and all of them protested with their voices. And when that didn't work, they whipped out their cell phones and they took pictures. Why is that important? Because, there are some people who want to tell us that we can't be together because we're of different colors, different cultures, we have our unique features about us, but none of it's true. Human solidarity is what took place on that corner, calling for the life of George Floyd, and it is exactly a core value of our revolution. Human solidarity. We recognize racism, sexism, and every other ism, but we don't let that be a barrier to our unity as our revolution. And so I think that's an important thing to pay attention to. Let me also say another key point is that, don't let anybody say nothing has happened. It is true that Congress has not passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. It's also true that the number of police-involved incidents doesn't seem to have stopped. But it is true that we see more police officers being prosecuted for killing people. And I'm telling you, you saw the tragic situation with Tyre Nichols. What we're watching right here, right now, is those officers are being held accountable, and they released the tape fast. And I've seen many others where departments are calling me and saying, "What should we do?" I'm like, "Don't sit on the tape. Share it with the people. Transparency. You're not going to get through this by trying to hide stuff." And then the other thing is that, the people power, the people who got out in the street with their signs, with their placards, with their bullhorns, raising their voices, really made the difference. I don't think I would have been appointed the case but for those people. So the truth is that, getting out there, using people power is still extremely effective. And then the last thing is, there might be some prosecutors who want to hold police accountable and want to make sure that everybody lives under equal justice. But they're nervous and they think, well, if I do this, then the police union is going to come around in my next election. They're going to defeat me and I'm not going to be able to do any good for anybody because I'm going to lose my election. Well, because of our revolution, I won my election. Because of our revolution, we prevailed. And so proving that, they were throwing every kind of nasty, racist, horrible ad they could against me. They spent $3.5 million to defeat me. But with my brothers and sisters in our revolution, we overcame all that. So I say, if you're trying to get some progressive DAs elected, it's important to remember that they're going to have to make some hard calls sometimes, but we can get them back in there as long as they're doing the right thing, and not backing down to, the powers that be.
Keith, that's a good point that you brought up right at the very end. We in fact won two victories for the criminal justice reform movement. The first was the conviction. You led the team that and set a precedent, right? You can't get away with murdering innocent citizens. But then the second thing is when the enemies of progress came after you to take you out, we organized and won. Yep. And that, I think, sends a message, right, to the police unions and others who want to stop our movement. And I think that's significant to point out. And I want to do a shout out to just all of our members who volunteered. We made almost 500,000 voter contacts in your race, Keith. And that was, phone calling, texting, emailing, and it was driven by the members, many of the leaders who are here today.
And I want to thank all of y'all and let you know I love you. I appreciate you. And it is very important for us to keep on pushing because, when you have people stand up and, you got some great candidates on tonight. I'm excited about the candidacy of Javanka Bickles. She doesn't know me. I don't know her, but I know of her. And I think that getting her in is a big, important thing. And we need people who are going to stand up for what's right. But when they do, they're going to get blowback, folks. They're going to get it. And so what are we going to do about that? It's way better to win the election than to say we fought the good fight. I'd rather win the election than just get a pat on the back to saying we tried. And we're in it to win it. We believe that most people share our values. And we just got to get to them.
And so, Keith, I wanted to ask you this. Tell us a little bit. What's interesting to me when asked you about some of the key points of the book, you talked about the solidarity and the people power. It was not necessarily about the legal theory or strategy.
Right.
But I am curious, what would you point to in terms of your legal strategy that you would put forward to other lawyers are going to be in your position going after rogue cops?
Well, one of the first things I would say from just a straight legal position, you've got to put a lot of time, energy, and resources into stopping the change of venue. A lot of times when these cases happen in a certain location, there's another part of the state where they can move the case to where they're going to get a jury that they think is not going to be fair, quite honestly. I'd say fight those change of venues with all you got.
Keep it in the community.
Keep it in the community where it happened. That's where it should be. The other thing is don't ignore the fact that the law that is to be applied, my opinion, isn't really that fair and doesn't necessarily square with the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment says that there shall be no unreasonable search and seizure. But what the Graham versus Connor decision, the Supreme Court decision, says, that there will be no unreasonable search and seizure, and attacking or beating somebody is a seizure from the perspective of the reasonable police officer without the benefit of hindsight, right? So basically they're saying from the perspective of the person who is accused of violating the Constitution, the case has to be looked at from their perspective. So to me, that doesn't strike me as quite fair, nor does it square with the text of the Constitution. I'd also say from a legal standpoint, you got to safeguard that jury. It is important to not let the victim of police brutality get defamed, because the people who are hearing this defamation are going to make up the jury. So when they were going on talking about how George Floyd was on drugs and how he was a druggie, and they're trying to drag up stuff that the police didn't even know about, which is that he had his own brushes with the criminal justice system. None of that was relevant to what happened to him that day. So that's important. The prosecutor needs to stand up and say, Judge, they cannot just smear my client and predetermine that the jury's not going to like him by putting out trashy stuff about him all the time. You've got to raise this point and call him out on it. And if I may add one more thing, I mean, there's a lot to be said about it. I could go on for days about it, but I'd say jury selection. It is very important to get a fair and impartial jury. We worked really hard on that. A lot of lawyers, when they try cases, they're just like, okay, we're gonna rush through jury selection. It might feel tedious and boring sometimes, but these are the people who are deciding your case, and you've got to put a lot of care and attention into each one of them. And we certainly did that. And then I'll also say that don't sleep on the medical causation. I mean, the medical causation was important here. What the defense tried to say is that George Floyd died because of inordinate stress on his body caused by him resisting arrest or something like that. What the defense tried to say is, oh, he had an enlarged heart anyway, so he was about to croak any second anyway. And at the same time, they were saying he was sickly and about to die anyway. They were saying that he was so powerful and so strong that they all four had to get on top of his body. All three had to get on top of his body because he could just bust out at any moment. Well, you can't be feeble and about to keel over any second and be so strong and powerful that three people need to get on top of your body. But we needed to make sure that the medicals went right. I'm gonna tell you, there was a fellow named Dr. Tobin who was a pulmonologist, and I'm telling you, he was a phenomenal witness. And the prosecution should do all they can to make sure that they can prove medical causation. Because even though you and I saw the tape, and George Floyd's walking around talking and fine 1 minute, and then 9 minutes and 29 seconds later, he's dead. Well, the prosecution was the prosecution were trying to say, believe your eyes. And what the defense was trying to say is, don't believe your eyes. So those are some of the things that we dug in and really made sure that people understood. And, we made the medical causation something that anybody could understand. One of the reasons we asked for nine-year-old Judea Reynolds to testify is because we were trying to signal to the jury that if a 9-year-old knows not to be on top of George Floyd's neck like that for 9 minutes, then anybody would. If the 9-year-old is literally calling the police on the police, then the jury should know, who are also a randomly selected group of people, that what these officers doing was wrong. I mean, look, and then here's the other thing I'll say, if you don't mind being taken one more second. A lot of people say the way to solve this problem is more training. I'm not against training. I am absolutely not against training. But what training do you need to have to know to get off somebody's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds when they don't have a pulse and are not resisting? What training? I mean, going to the academy should make you smarter, not dumber. And yet, you got a 9-year-old girl who sees this is wrong. So those are just a few things.
And so, Keith, a lot of amazing nuggets in there, but we're running short of time, and I want to get to some of our member questions, and I'm going to put a few of them together that run along the theme of what else needs to happen to hold rogue cops accountable. You talked about, obviously, winning this prosecution, setting a precedent. But beyond that, there was, qualified immunity that just passed in Colorado. What else do you think need to be put in place so that we have a robust check on unaccountable power?
Well, I would say that we should make it as one of our primary objectives to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That is something that would affect the whole country. I mean, you will know that President Biden passed an important executive order, but that doesn't touch the whole country. What we need is something that's going to affect the entire country and will push the entire, and will be a symbol to the nation as to what the people of the United States expect of those who are charged with serving and protecting. The bottom line is we haven't passed it yet, and it was Karen Bass who got it through the House, and even Cory Booker gets a lot of credit for getting it up there. But then the guy who's announcing his run for the presidency, Tim Scott, he was supposed to be a bipartisan partner. He bails, and and so it's important for us to not drop that. We may be the only ones out there reminding everybody, but then if you look at what happened to Tyree Nichols, it's very clear that it is important for us to continue the fight on that. As it relates to, but I'm glad some folks pulled up qualified immunity as it relates to Colorado. That was very good. Something, here's the thing about qualified immunity. It is not, no legislature passed the law. The Supreme Court just said that unless a case like this already happened, then they are going to say that the government actor, the government employee, was not on notice that it's unconstitutional, and the government actor might be operating against the rule. They might be operating against cases that are very similar. But unless there's something on all fours, then you're not even going to get discovery. They're going to throw your case out right away in the beginning, and that's wrong. As long as it is illegal, as long as it is not against the rules, then officers should be held to the standard that they can't do it. And you can't say, well, yeah, I know it's against the rules, but there was never a case exactly like it before. So I'm not going to. So the plaintiff's case is going to be thrown out. That is a doctrine that is not useful and should be done away with. But I'll just say, let's keep on pushing. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act would do a lot of important things. But just for those folks who are from Ohio, in Ohio, there was a kid named Tamir Rice shot down in Cleveland. He was 12 years old, murdered by a police officer. That same officer had been rejected by another department. Another department said, this guy is not fit for duty and he can't be our police officer on our force. And so then Cleveland Police Department goes and hires him. That we need a national database that if you're not fit one place, you're not fit any place. And we need a national registry to do that. We need to grant administrative subpoena power to the Department of Justice in pattern and practice cases, because we need more of them and they need to be effective and they need to work faster. We need a lot of things, but for the OR to say we're going to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, I think would be the exact right thing to do.
And Keith, that's what we're going to keep doing. Appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight, and want to thank you for your willingness to volunteer your time to serve on Our Revolution's board and help guide our work to, keep electing progressives like yourself into key positions so that we can actually change the system. And we're going to continue organizing on the outside because, as you said, it takes the inside and the outside, right, to really impact change. Attorney General Ellison, thank you again, brother.
Thanks, my brother. And all the best to everybody running and all the best to OR. I'm OR all the way. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Good night. Again, that was Attorney General Keith Ellison. If you want to get an autographed copy of his new book, A Diary of the Trial that sent the murderer of George Floyd to prison, you can click the link in the chat, $35, and learn the historical record in what I would say is probably the trial of the century, directly from the guy who wrote the history. So with that, be sure and get your copy. Supplies are limited of the autograph books. Again, supplies are limited. Get your copy. And with that, I want to now welcome our next guest, and that is Aaron Regenberg. He is a candidate who is running for Congress this year from Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. Our Revolution is proud to be endorsing Aaron for this seat. This seat is being vacated by David Cicilline. David has been on this calls with Our Revolution. He is a leader in the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and he's been a leading voice on the fight against monopoly power in our country. We need to make sure that a true progressive fighter replaces David. And that's why Our Revolution is endorsing Aaron. Aaron is a true progressive fighter. He was a community organizer in Providence. He was then elected to the state legislature where he organized, he built coalitions to get progressive stuff done. Progressive stuff like paid sick days, progressive stuff like ending the tipped minimum wage, progressive stuff like promoting renewable energy. Aaron has proven his fight, his skills already. In addition to that, after serving the State House, he went to law school. And when he came out of law school, he's been committed to fighting big oil and holding big oil accountable for their environmental crimes. So with that, I'm proud to bring up Aaron Regenberg, who is running for Congress from Rhode Island. Aaron, welcome to our Organized to Win call. Tell us a little bit about what you hope to accomplish in Congress.
Well, first of all, thank you so much to Our Revolution for having me. And thanks to you and all of your members, everyone who's on, for just everything that you do to fight for a more just and fair future. I'm hugely grateful for this organization and all of your work. And not just because you're supporting my campaign, but I've been hugely grateful for many, many years. As was said, my name is Aaron Regenberg, and I'm a candidate for Congress in Rhode Island in a special election we have coming up this September in what we think arguably is the strongest progressive pickup opportunity for Congress that we have this year in 2023. I think that everyone on this call understands very well that on so many of the issues that we care about, whether it's taking on the fossil fuel industry to win a Green New Deal, taking on health insurance companies to win Medicare for all, taking on Wall Street to rein in big banks, on all of these fights, we're not going to see the kind of change that so many people desperately need just by electing more run-of-the-mill Democrats, right? And I think that's particularly true in a district like Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. This is a deep, deep blue district. It's exactly the kind of district that can and should be electing, leaders who can organize and bring people together and have a record of winning real progressive change. And that's the work that I've been doing here in Rhode Island for many years, whether it was as a community organizer fighting for education justice in our public schools, as a new climate lawyer, supporting litigation to hold big oil accountable, or as a state legislator helping lead passage of bills to give working people paid sick days and higher wages and new clean energy programs and solitary confinement reform and harm reduction for folks struggling with addiction. There's so many issues that we really can win real change on. And the cool thing for this race, I think, is that we actually have a really good shot to win this thing. I'm used to, in a lot of the campaigns that I follow, that I care about, the person running on the bold progressive agenda, running on Green New Deal and Medicare for all, often it feels like doesn't necessarily have the best path to victory. But in this race, we've got a really good shot. I ran in 2018 a progressive primary challenge against our incumbent lieutenant governor. He's currently our governor. And we earned 49% of the vote statewide against the incumbent. We built a really strong coalition. We built a network of supporters, volunteers, endorsers in communities all across this district. So we've got a really big leg up in this special election. And I think if we do the work that we need to, if we organize the communities with the help of organizations like Our Revolution and your amazing members, I think we can win this thing, and we can join the folks in the Congressional Progressive Caucus who are really working and organizing and fighting to build progressive power so that we can push the Democratic Party, the Democratic Caucus, to actually stand up on the issues that matter. So I'm so grateful to be here to have a conversation with you. I am going to do, and I apologize, but I'm going to do a shameless plug. if we win this, if we can raise the resources we need, we're going to win this thing. We're running against folks who can self-fund, who are taking corporate PACs. So I'm going to put our Act Blue link in the chat because if we can raise the money that we need, I think we really have a great shot here.
So Aaron, tell our members a little bit about your theory of winning. You've got a pretty crowded field. I think there's a dozen plus candidates who've thrown their hat in the ring. What's your theory of winning and winning outright here?
So you're right. There's 16 candidates in the race right now. It is a total circus. The good news is there's only 2 candidates, myself included, who have run statewide. So again, we're starting with a big leg up, particularly in a special election where there's not that much time. So there's not a big runway for folks to build out that infrastructure that we are already starting from. There's also no one else in the race who is running, as a proud Bernie-crat, who's running on Green New Deal, which is an issue. I've been fighting to win a Green New Deal at the state level since before it was cool. I introduced legislation to create a single-payer healthcare system in Rhode Island every year I was in the legislature. So there's no one else who's working on these issues, who's really talking about corporate power and the way that corporations rig the rules in Washington and how we need folks who are going to come in and really represent regular people. So I think that if we can consolidate that lane, if we can bring those voters out, particularly again in a special election, it's low turnout. We're going to try to have as high turnout as we can, but if we can, the voters who turn out are going to be the folks who are most excited. And so in a race like this, I believe that it's going to be folks who believe in a future that is not decided by corporations, who believe that we can win a livable future, who believe that we can stand up for working people and build a strong labor movement so that it's not just big corporations that are running our economy, who are going to continue the work that David Cicilline, who care about the work David Cicilline has been doing to try to take on corporate monopolies, which, we need the next rep here to be able to continue that work. So I think that those are the folks who are going to be excited to turn out. And I'm an organizer, as we talked about. I got my start in politics as a community organizer. So really the short answer to the theory to win is we're going to organize. We're going to knock the hell out of the communities in our district, and we're going to build the networks we need and turn people out. So
Aaron, again, congratulations on earning Our Revolution's national endorsement. I want to urge all of our members to get involved. Just like we did in Keith Ellison's tough re-election bid, it was our get out the vote operation that mattered. It was our phone banking, it was our texting, it was our emails. And as you heard Keith said, that made the margin of difference. And so we need you to sign up and get involved. Become a member of our Elect Progressives team. There is a congressional race this year, and there is a CPC seat that we need to keep, and that's in Rhode Island, where David Cicilline is resigning and moving to the private sector to do foundation work, and that's why we need to do the work to elect Aaron. So again, link is in the chat. If you want to sign up to do the work to help Aaron win, sign up for Elect Progressives team. Aaron, thank you again for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, this is the Dem primary this year, and so what happens in this primary, I think, will give us momentum going into 2024 and all the elections we have there. So if we can set the narrative by having a strong progressive win this, I think it's going to help us for all the other races we care about in 2024. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks for all the organizing you do on the issues that matter.
See you in the trenches, brother. And so with that, I want to turn it over to my comrade in arms, Our Revolution Field Director, Mike Oles, to bring up our next guest. Mike, over to you.
Hey, Joseph, thank you so much. An awesome night in Our Revolution Nation. Again, my name is Mike Oles. I'm the National Field Director of Our Revolution. I just got off the road. I was up in Chicago tonight, where we led a great protest against the National Restaurant Association. We'll talk more about that at the later end of this call. But Our Revolution is on the march. And now I want to go from the East Coast to the West Coast and introduce our next guest. Jovanka Beckles is running for California State Senate, which is actually larger than a congressional district. So this is a very big race. Her district includes Berkeley, includes Oakland, includes her hometown of Richmond. And so Jovanka Beckles, welcome to our Revolution call tonight.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate being able to be a part of this wonderful, amazing, badass movement that is the movement for the people, that is being a part of our revolution. I also want to just thank our revolution for all of the past support, the past endorsements of campaigns that I've been honored to have been a part of. So thank you so much for that. Y'all, and how much time do I have? Let me know, otherwise I will go on and on, y'all. How much time do I have, Mike? Can you all hear me? I can't not hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. The internet was being unstable, but I got muted. But hey, I want to say we are, you've gotten the endorsement of Our Revolution East Bay.
Yes.
You've gotten the endorsement of Our Revolution, our Revolution group in Richmond, California, the Richmond Progressive Alliance.
Yes.
Now, two of the mightiest Our Revolution groups out there. You've gotten the endorsement from Pamela Price,
Yes.
the leading progressive attorney general, right, and progressive prosecutor who pulled off a huge victory just a few months ago. So you are building an amazing group of endorsements. We're not quite ready for 2024, but you are building a campaign that's going to make some huge victories come up next year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this is we're building coalition, we're building a movement, and it's really exciting. It's exciting to be a part of that movement. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jovanka Beckles. I use she, her pronouns. I am a Black, Latinx, gay immigrant woman. I was born in Panama. Immigrated to the United States when I was just 9 years old. I currently work in the mental health field. I've actually been working as a mental health provider for over 30 years. And it's really my identity that I just described a little while ago. It's the work that I have been doing for over 30 years that really informs the kinds of policies that I have not only written, but policies that I've also supported and passed throughout the years. I was on two boards. I was on the Economic Development Commission before running for Richmond City Council. Then I became a planning commissioner. Then I ran for Richmond City Council. And then in 2014, the Chevron Corporation, they have a big refinery here in Richmond. We have been in the news so often because of that fight that we've had with that giant corporation, that in 2014, our very own Bernie came to Richmond, California. And I know Bernie doesn't endorse on small city council races, but he came to Richmond to endorse myself and my progressive colleagues who were running on the slate that year, because Chevron was so threatened by us, and they should have been, because of the work that we've been doing to hold them accountable and help us, not just this city, but California and the world transition away from fossil fuel. They spent $3 million in that city council election in 2014. And so Bernie came and supported us and endorsed us, and we won, we beat them. And as a result of having a really amazing supermajority on the Richmond City Council, we sued them. We demanded that they pay their fair share of taxes. In fact, we won over $100 million from them. And with that money, what we did with that money is that we put it towards, our community and our youth, and we created the Richmond Promise program, which gives grants and scholarships to Richmond seniors. So this is what you can do when you have loyal, unafraid elected officials in office. And I'm running for the California State Senate in 2024. And I know it seems like a long way, but it's right around the corner, particularly when you are a grassroots candidate. So we are running this campaign There are 4 other candidates so far, but in the words of Stephen Tavares, who's a local reporter here, he said Jovanka Beckles is the most progressive candidate of them all. And that's true. And, you know, I believe that we can do this because this is about a movement. We can win this election. We will win this election because I believe to be, and I've looked at the field and I agree. I'm the strongest progressive candidate. And the reason for that, I've been the strongest candidate for the environment, fighting against Chevron, making sure that we don't build housing on toxic land, working with community to do that. Police accountability and changing policies in Richmond. I'm proud to have done to hold police accountable for any wrongs, hurts, or killings that they may have inflicted on our community members. Strong on education, strong on healthcare. I mean, so many examples that I know I can share with you if I had a lot more time. But I'm also the strongest union candidate. I'm a member of Teamsters Local 856. I've been a union member for 23 years as a Teamster. I am a rank and file. You have everyone I can think of in the Bay Area. There's no one that can say, I have never seen Jovanka walking the line with us, because that's what I've done. I have walked the line with all of my union siblings throughout the Bay Area, the teachers. You know, I've put my money where my mouth is. Some of us can say, some of my candidates or my opponents might say, oh, you know, I definitely support the teachers, but in every one of their strikes, I've supported them financially with my own money to make sure that the kids were able to eat or have childcare. I believe that I'm also, you know, one of the strongest candidates because I am the strongest activist. I'm an activist candidate. I'm really honored to be able to, in fact, because of my activism in the community, you can find an image of me in the this is the Smithsonian Museum of African American History. There's an image of me at a Black Lives Matter rally in the front line fighting the good fight. Also, really honored that here in Oakland, in the Oakland Museum, there's also an image of me for my activism, and I'm really proud to say it. So that's what I'm going to share real quick. And what they said is, Jovanka, community member, David facing down Goliath. She became a member of Richmond City Council while Chevron waged a multi-million-dollar campaign against her, went on to raise the corporation's taxes, lowered crime by 33%, and passed California's first rent control ordinance in 30 years. That was one of the displays that they had at the museum. And so siblings, I say all that to say is that, you know what, even if more candidates come into this race, you know that I will be the most loyal because I have a track record of standing up, defending the community, even at the expense of my own mental and physical health oftentimes. But I do it because if I don't do it, then what? Then we have elected officials who compromise. We have elected officials who sell us down the road, because we've seen that. We see that now in California. California has a supermajority in the state legislature, and yet we still can't pass a Medicare for All system. We're still fighting to make that happen. So in me, there's trust. I have a track record, and I have loyalty, and I have a bunch of children that I've worked with who are now 18, 19, 20 years old, who I helped keep out of the school to prison pipeline, who are now saying, Jovanka, I remember when I was a kid, I was afraid to walk around Richmond, and now I feel so safe walking around Richmond. And that's because of the work that I've done in collaboration with the community. And so it's going to be a hard race, but together, right, we can do it. Together, we will win. Together, many hands make a light load. And so I'd be honored, of course, when that time comes to have our revolution's endorsement. But in the meantime, there's so many things that you all can do on this call. You can donate to our campaign. Those of you in the East Bay can come out and help us drop lit. I And one more point I want to make for those who may not know, the California legislature has 40 seats. Out of those 40 seats, there's only one Black woman who's been elected out of 40 seats. And out of 40 seats, there are only 2 Black Americans in the California Senate. That doesn't, of course, reflect the diversity of California. It doesn't reflect the diversity of the East Bay. And so we have an opportunity to make history together, and I'd be honored to have and get whatever support you all can provide to our campaign, our movement for the people.
And Jovanka, we just have a few seconds left here tonight. But you know, I was talking to one of our East Bay leaders, and they were saying that you know, in Richmond right now, you're helping work on a Green New Deal for the city of Richmond. You've been out there leading as a. Should also say you've never missed a picket line.
And that's right.
So how do we? So what do you bring to the California State Senate that we might not get with somebody who's more of a, you know, says they show up, we don't see them a lot.
Exactly. Says they show up, but then they don't. What you will get from me is consistency. I will continue to fight to make sure that we transition away from the fossil fuel industry. I don't take corporate money, so there you have it. I don't have to take corporate money, so I am beholden only to the voters, to the people, and not very many people can say that. I will hold the super rich accountable. We have to tax them. I will be a vote to ensure that we get a Medicare for all system in California and transition away from the insurance companies. You know, in me, in my platform, and what you will see in me is I also believe, because you know, of what I see in my work every day with children and families. I see mothers who want to get to work, or caretakers who want to work but can't afford it because they have to juggle and try to decide, if I take this job, then what am I going to do with my child? So, you know, caretakers shouldn't have to decide whether to go to work and decide or stay home with their child. And so I believe that we can have, in the 5th largest economy in the world, we can have free childcare for everyone who needs it. I also believe we can have social housing, particularly, you know, for teachers, struggling teachers. So I think that there, you know, I also agree the Green New Deal. Activists in Richmond right now are working to help us transition away from fossil fuel. And what do we do? What will we do with those workers, those employees? You know, we can help them to transition to green new jobs. So, you know, that is just a few of the many things that we can see. We need to win housing, as I mentioned earlier, housing for all and affordable housing. And how we do that is, you know, we definitely have to, Acosta-Hawkins is a law that prevents city from having rent control. And, you know, that is one of those laws that we have to, you know, get rid of. And I'll be,
so we're going to go out and, you know, Jovanka Beckles has been endorsed by the 2 leading Our Revolution groups, leading luminaries in California politics, both like Gus Newport, the legendary mayor of Berkeley, Pamela Price, the new DA of Alameda County. So the movement is lining up behind you. We'll be in touch very soon. Jovanka Beckles, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to get one more guest tonight, and just tonight's call, Keith Ellison gave you a shout out. This, you know, we're going to get this here next March, next November. So we'll be in touch.
Right on. Thank you so much, siblings. Keep up the good work.
Great. So let's go now from California back to the East Coast, and let's go to, I call it the viral internet moment of last week. We're going to be joined by Jake Burnett. Jake, if you have not seen this video yet, Jake was all over Twitter last week. Jake, I'm not going to describe it. You describe it. What happened? How did you get into a wrestling match with a member of Congress?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Our Revolution National, for giving me the opportunity to come on and tell my story of what happened last Wednesday. And by the way, I am the co-chair of Our Revolution, Howard County here in Maryland. But essentially, people from all across the country, part of Our Revolution, also part of other progressive organizations, were in Washington, D.C. last Wednesday, May 17th, for a press conference and rally with Senator Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal for their co-introduction of their Medicare for All bills. And so that's what I was there for as a healthcare and grassroots progressive activist, was to, celebrate the introduction of Medicare for All and show that their support. And what we did not realize was that directly after our Medicare for All press conference, the so-called Tea Party or Freedom Caucus had their very own press conference planned right after ours. Their press conference seemed to be about fear-mongering about the World Health Organization, saying that, COVID is all China's fault, and, taking no responsibility in the U.S. for the way that all turned out. And so what ended up happening was I saw that, the Tea Party and Freedom Caucus members were having this press conference, which again, I didn't know about when I went to DC that day, but I saw that it was happening, and I figured, why not stick around and ask some of them who are legitimately, some of the worst people in the country, most extreme elected members of our Congress. And I said, why not stick around and ask a couple of them tough questions? I mean, it is a press conference after all.
So, Jake, you asked some pretty tough questions of Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar. It was like a who's who of MAGA America, right? And you're asking some questions, but you're kind of roasting them on their sort of terrible personal histories and their terrible public policies. And so, what were we trying to ask Lauren Boebert that got Mr. Higgins so upset?
Yeah, well, before I got to Lauren Boebert, who is probably the star of the press conference, I did. Paul Gosar was called up first, and so I asked him about his neo-Nazi ties to white supremacist Nick Fuentes, as well as when he originally ran, his own family members coming out and endorsing endorsing his opponent. And, so I asked those questions to Gosar, and even then, Representative Clay Higgins, who seemed to forget that he got fired had to resign as being a cop years ago for excessive force. He seemed to forget that. And so even then, he jumped in, he put his hands on me, tried to de-escalate the situation. But right after that, that's when Lauren Boebert got called up. And within 24 hours of, less than 24 hours before this press conference, it had just been breaking news that Lauren Boebert and her husband were getting divorced. And so I asked her, a question about that, because again, when else are you going to get the opportunity to question these elected officials who we see on the news all the time and are enormously powerful? And so I asked her about this very relevant and ongoing issue, and if it had anything to do with her and her husband's restaurant in the past, Shooter's Bar and Grill, which had given people food poisoning. And, so it was a sort of a silly question, but nonetheless, the things that these people are doing on a day-to-day basis are extremely dangerous. I mean, the nerve of them to fearmonger about the World Health Organization, about COVID, right after a Medicare for All rally, Medicare for All, which is a policy that none of them support, which would save, hundreds of thousands of lives, most likely during the pandemic, if we had Medicare for All. So the hypocrisy of a group that calls themselves the quote-unquote Freedom Caucus to just so brazenly violate somebody's freedom of speech in the way that I did, and literally put hands on me, drag me, 15, 20 feet, simply for asking a tough question and making our elected officials uncomfortable. I think it's really emblematic of the alarming trend towards authoritarianism that we're seeing happening in this country right now.
And as you say, Clay Higgins is a failed police officer, had to quit for excessive violence, ran for Congress. I didn't know much about him. I Googled him after your incident. This guy is just one of the worst legislators in the country, bad actor on all fronts. What was going through your mind when he was grabbing you like that? Like, what are you thinking when a member of Congress is out there grabbing you and acting like Bull Connor out there? What was that like? What was going through your head?
It's a pretty scary thought in the moment because one, I'm very fortunate actually that when he did have that initial interaction with me, when I was asking Paul Gosar the questions, I was very lucky that I asked who he was. I asked him to identify himself, and he said he's a U.S. congressman, because if he didn't say that he was a U.S. congressman, maybe in that moment I might have, fought back, might have, thrown a punch, might have pushed him back. And I fear that if I had done that, even though I think I would have been morally and legally justified to do so, because again, he's putting his hands on me, he's assaulting me, he's pushing me when I don't want to be touched, and I'm not consenting to it. So I do think it would have been justified. But nonetheless, if I laid hands on a congressperson, I don't know, as Keith Ellison was talking about earlier on the call, I don't know if the police really would have given me a fair shake in that. I mean, I didn't put hands on Clay Higgins, and even then, the police immediately, once this whole thing got broken up, they went and questioned me. They went and interrogated me. They went and detained me. They didn't say a single word to Clay Higgins, as far as I know. And so that's the reaction when I was completely peaceful and passive about it. So if I had actually thrown a punch or fought back, I think there's a very good chance, I might be in a jail cell right now. And so that's what was scary about it, is knowing that I have no choice but to just sort of allow this to happen to me, because if I fight back, it's not gonna go well for me. And then even beyond that, that was when I was actually being dragged, and luckily there was a whole crowd of people around me, rightfully shocked about what was going on, and sort of screaming at Clay Higgins like, stop, you're assaulting him, stop doing that. But even when that ended, the 30 minutes or so when I was detained by the police for what happened, that was extremely scary, because I don't know, again, I saw the kid's glove treatment that Clay Higgins was given. And so there's seriously, for that 30 minutes, it's going through my head, am I going to get arrested here? I didn't even do anything. I didn't lay a hand on him, but am I going to, be able to go home and see my family tonight? And so that was, very scary. And even to this day, to my knowledge, no charges or anything have been pressed against me. I'm sure Representative Higgins has tried. He said on social media that I, quote unquote, violated the law in defense of his actions. He said that. And so, part of me still wonders, am I going to get a call a week from now that, I am in some sort of legal trouble? And so it was scary at the time, Mike, and it still is a little bit scary because it's unclear if the situation is fully over, if there's still some residual fallout coming.
And Jake, you're a longtime activist and organizer, helping lead Our Revolution Howard County in suburban Maryland. You're in law school right now. You're, been one of our most active members, for several years. You showed up with a shirt. You did what any good Our Revolution member should do: raise a little hell, ask some tough questions, maybe roast a Republican. This is Clay Higgins describes himself as the Cajun John Wayne. I think he's more like a Cajun snowflake, and you got him triggered. He, can't answer any tough questions, can't take a joke, and this is what we got in MAGA America. So, Jake, thank you for your leadership and your willingness to, to really respond nonviolently, right? To use nonviolence and humor as a way to provoke what we're up against in this MAGA obsessed Congress. So, thank you, Jake, so much for your efforts, and then we'll be in touch and we'll be following this. So follow Jake on Twitter, follow this case. We're going to be out there supporting Jake all the way. Thank you, Jake. Hey, we're running a little bit late tonight, so I just want to go to move things forward and close this call out. First of all, if you haven't ordered the book tonight, please order the book. Get an autographed copy of Break the Wheel, Ending the Cycle of Police Violence, Keith's new book. Keith is one of our leading lights in the progressive movement, Attorney General of Minnesota, showing us how to get things done, build progressive political power, and then govern inside and outside. So please get Keith's book tonight. I think we've sold a lot tonight, so please get this book. $35 will go a long way, not just to support the book, but also to help build our revolution. Let's have a book club coming up. So please get out there and get Keith's book. So then I want to go on to become a member of our revolution. Also, if you can't afford the book tonight, become a member of our revolution. A $5 or $10 a month membership really helps us build our movement. And then lastly, tomorrow at 2:30 p.m., we are, we're in this fight to end the sub-minimum wage in America. Washington, D.C. passed legislation to end the sub-minimum wage in D.C. The Restaurant Association, National Restaurant Association, is fighting back. So we got some work to do. Even after we win, we got some work to do. So tomorrow at 2:30, in the chat, please join us on a phone call supporting the work of ending the sub-minimum wage in our nation's capital and supporting the work that's already been won. We won this fight. They're trying to sneak their way out of it. So please join us tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. And then lastly, let's just close this call out tonight. So if you joined us tonight, if you can unmute yourself, join us in our end of call chant. When we organize,
We win.
we win. When we organize,
We win.
I hear my kids chanting in the background, so they're ready to go too. When we organize,
We win.
we win. Awesome night, awesome call tonight, coast to coast, all over the place. We're organizing. Have a great week. Talk soon.
Recording stop.